It's Science and Health for September 17th, 2019, and it's the Climate Change Edition. Yes, sirree, Bob. But not in the way you think. There's two articles highlighted today. One showing that there's climate change and that temperatures could rise to a certain amount. And then there's the other article that's like, we need more consistent testing. That's right. Two conflicting articles, and we're going to go into them in this segment right now. So the first one, Earth to warm more quickly, new climate models show. So here in this particular article, greenhouse gases thrust into the atmosphere by burning fossil fuels are warming Earth's surface more quickly than previously understood, according to new climate models set to replace those used in current UN projections, scientists said Tuesday. By 2100, average temperatures could rise 6.5 to 7.0 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels if carbon emissions continue unabated, separate models from two leading research centers in France showed. Enkill says they need to define carbon emissions. Yep, we're getting to that. That is up to 2 degrees higher than the equivalent scenario in the Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change's 2014 benchmark Fifth Assessment Report. The new calculations also suggest the Paris Agreement goals of capping global warming at well below 2 degrees and 1.5 C if possible will be harder to reach, the scientists said. With barely 1 degree Celsius of warming so far, the world is already coping with increasingly deadly heat waves, droughts, floods, tropical cyclones made more destructive by rising seas that have happened in the past in the climate because the shit goes in cycles. The shit has always gone in cycles, and this will always continue to go in cycles. Hello. Cycles. Learn them. All right, so we have here anomalies in global temperature variations compared with the 20th century average. So you have all this, and then a spike right here between, which is probably 2017. So we've got temperature. See this? They don't realize that they're showing a pattern when they do this shit. Neil says these idiots think they can stop something that's happened for millions of years. We should be preparing for possible warming and cooling, not trying to control it. Yeah. Oh, you guys can't see the whole thing. Yeah, I agree. Let me see if you guys can see the whole thing. Let me slide this over here. Gee, it's almost like they're showing a trend. Anyone who ever was a dinosaur nerd knows before humans, the Earth's temperatures did go extremely hot and extremely cold between each period. Exactly. Ghost Dog. We had an ice age, so warm age could be a thing. It could be, but the thing is this. The one thing they won't tell you is that there are scientists out there that study tree rings. What do tree rings tell us? Not only how old a tree is, but it gives us a look into how the climate was during that particular tree's growth, depending on the number of rings the tree has. And it's through these tree ring experiments that a lot of these scientists has found that these warming and cooling trends go in cycles. But oh no, we can't tell anybody that, because that'll be against the whole, we have to save the environment thing. Because it makes too much sense. If it makes too much sense, we can't have it. Alright, so. Alright, now I'm going to shrink this thing back. Not that way. Oh, come on. Oh, okay, I'm hitting the space bar. Bloopers! Okay. Alright, here we go. Now we're back over here. Alright, boy, this is going to be a bitch to edit. Alright. So, We have core finding of the new models is that increased levels of CO2 in the atmosphere will warm Earth's surface more easily than earlier calculations had suggested. It confirmed this higher equilibrium climate sensitivity, or ECS. I love how they come up with new terms. They just, every time they have something, we need to come up with a new term for this. That way it sounds serious. Means humanity's carbon budget, our total emissions allowance, is likely to shrink. French models are among the first to be released, but others developed independently have come to the same unsettling conclusion, Boucher confirmed. A higher ECS means greater likelihood of reaching higher levels of global warming, even with deeper emissions cuts. Boucher and two British scientists, Stephen Belcher from the UK Met Office and Rowan Sutton from the UK National Centre for Atmospheric Science, wrote in a blog earlier this year, tiptoeing around the implications of the new models. A third to 99% of top layer permafrost could melt by 2100 if carbon pollution is not abated, releasing billions of tons of greenhouse gases into the air, according to a draft of IPCC special report on oceans and Earth's frozen zones obtained by AFP. The 2014 basket of climate models show Earth warming on current trends an additional 3°C by 2100 and at least 2°C even if national carbon cutting pledges are all met. The two French climate models, including the one from France's National Center for Meteorological Research, were to be unveiled at a press conference in Paris. Neil, results of every study pushed by the media. It's worse than we ever thought. Exactly. Now, here's the part that's going to make you guys kind of giggle. Out of science, SciTechDaily.com. More realistic experiments needed on the impact of climate change. I told you they contradicted themselves, didn't I? NKIL, how? Carbon monoxide, sulfur, and hydrocarbons holds more IR than CO2, and CO2 is actually metabolized more than other much more harmful and IR absorbing molecules. They just want... they're always fixated on CO2. For them, it's always going to be CO2 because that's the worst of the bunch, when it isn't. Methane is worse than CO2. There's a lot of them that are worse than CO2. But, save the planet. Not that I'm saying it flippantly on purpose, but it's just, oh my God. When it comes to the impact of climate change on ecosystems, we still have large knowledge gaps. Most experiments are unrealistic because they do not correspond to projected climate scenarios for a specific region. We lack reliable data on what ecosystems might look like in the future, as a team of biodiversity researchers from central Germany show in the journal Global Change Biology. The researchers are now calling for the introduction of common protocols for future experiments. Can't predict globally for stuff that happens locally. It's almost like it's common sense. The facts that climate change is man-made and that it will alter ecosystems is indisputable. No, climate's always changing. The debate is whether or not we're speeding up the cycle of the climate change. However, there is a debate about its extent and its consequences. According to Knight, field experiments are a necessary tool for understanding the effects of climate on plant communities. Nature is complex and plant communities are structured by many interacting environmental factors. Experiments can specifically isolate the role of climate factors such as precipitation and temperature, says Knight. Isn't it funny how they're just now coming up with the fact that they need more realistic experiments that focus on different climates and different environments in the climate than just globally measuring it and going, well, this is what's going to happen in X amount of years. It took them this long to figure it out. Researchers conducted an extensive literature review on the subject, searching for field experiments on relationship between climate factors and plant communities. In these experiments, temperature and precipitation are altered to investigate their effects on the plant community, explains Dr. Lot Carell, a member of Knight's research group and lead author of the study. The team was able to identify a total of 76 studies that manipulated either precipitation, temperature, or both. Depending on the region, current climate models project changes in precipitation of up to 25% and higher temperatures of up to 5 degrees Celsius. However, almost all the studies the team looked at manipulated much more extreme changes in precipitation, with values ranging from negative 100 and plus 300%. The temperature experiments, on the other hand, underestimated the climate forecast for the worst case scenario. This is why we don't have the data we need to forecast and plan for our future, says Lot Carell. There is too little known about how ecosystems will react to climate change and how we can best manage our natural ecosystems to maintain the functions that are critical to humanity. So, in my opinion, this article pretty much said that the first article I read was shit. And that's another video down. If you liked it, there's this. If you didn't like it, there's that. There's a subscribe button if you haven't subscribed yet. If you're not sure, there's more content you can watch before you make that all-powerful decision of clicking the red bell and making it go dark. There's also a bell that's just about as fickle as a pregnant woman in a candy aisle when she's got a craving or she's hungry. And because it only works whenever it feels like it. But the bell's there. In the description below is all the ways that you can support this channel, as well as links to blogs and other channels and so on and so forth. So, until next time, guys, take care of yourselves.